Welcome back to the Deep Dive. This is the place where we take your source material, no matter how complex, and really distill it into knowledge you can use.
And today's mission is, well, it's a bit unusual. Highly targeted. We're looking at the structure and, I guess, the intent behind the material you sent over.
It's all about looking ahead. The main document you gave us is titled Strategic Financial Horizons 2026. And you specifically flagged a subsection for us, Investment Tips for 2026.
Which tells us a lot right there. That specificity is a data point itself.
How so?
Well, you didn't ask for a general market overview, you know?
Yeah.
You honed right in on a planning document. It has a clear financial theme and a very strict time frame, 2026.
Right.
So we know we're dealing with a search for actionable intelligence, something designed to really maximize value in the near future. That clarity of purpose, it informs this entire deep dive.
I really appreciate that focus. It confirms that you, the listener, you're looking to move past just reacting to the market.
Into true strategic preparation.
Exactly. We can tell just from the title that the goal here is getting ahead of key trends, positioning assets for a specific period. The big question is, what insights does the material actually give us to do that?
The expectation set by that title is just immense. Strategic Financial Horizons.
It sounds so official.
It does. It promises a deep, almost institutional perspective. We're moving beyond simple tactical trading and into systemic thinking. That language alone, it suggests the authors believe they've identified major market movements that will really peak or manifest by 2026.
It implies some very sophisticated analysis has been done.
That's the promise.
Okay, let's unpack this. And this is where our deep dive takes a surprising turn, maybe a slightly frustrating one.
I'd say fascinating, but okay.
We had these incredible, compelling titles, right? Strategic Financial Horizons 2026, and then Investment Tips for 2026.
Yep.
We were ready to analyze charts, compare different viewpoints on asset classes, distill some concrete advice.
Get into the weeds.
But when we actually processed the source material you sent, the excerpts, they contain no further text.
Nothing.
No content, and crucially, no actionable details. It's like you found the cover of a definitive financial guide, but all the pages inside are blank.
And what's so fascinating here is just the sheer power of that expectation, the anticipation set by those titles alone.
Okay.
We've been handed a high-level briefing, meta-analysis, really, which points directly toward a mountain of valuable knowledge, but we don't have the path to climb it.
So we found the existence of intelligence focused on 2026, but not the intelligence itself.
Precisely.
As the proxy for our listener here, I have to ask, are we really doing a deep dive if we're just analyzing headings?
That's a fair question.
We know you want the shortcut to being well-informed. Isn't analyzing a title just, I don't know, glorified fortune-telling?
I see why you'd say that, but no. This raises a crucial distinction. We are performing an intellectual triage.
Okay, triage.
When you don't have the data, you analyze the framework. This isn't fortune-telling. It's analyzing professional intent. When a document uses language like strategic financial horizons, it suggests a highly formalized, structured process. This isn't just random speculation.
It indicates a researched framework.
A researched framework, likely using multi-year projections and sophisticated modeling. So analyzing those three powerful words, strategic, financial, and horizons, that's the true deep dive into the intent of the source.
So, okay. We confirm the urgency, we confirm the topic, and now we confirm the underlying framework. Let's start there. Let's spend our time understanding exactly why that first word, strategic, carries so much weight.
Good place to start.
What's a real professional difference between strategic advice and, say, a tactical trading review?
That's a huge point. A tactical trading review that's focused on the next, 3 to 6 months.
Very short term.
Right. It's about reacting to a specific earnings report or adjusting based on the next Fed meeting. It's all about movement and speed. Strategic, on the other hand, implies patience. It implies foresight, system-level thinking. If you're planning for 2026, your strategies can't be based on today's volatility.
It can't.
They have to be based on these slow-moving tectonic shifts. Think about major trends like the energy transition or shifts in global supply chains or long-term demographic changes that impact labor.
Right.
Strategy focuses on what will be true in 2026 regardless of all the noise between now and then.
So a tactical approach might tell you to buy a certain stock today because it had a bad quarter and it's undervalued. But a strategic approach based on this title, would tell you to allocate capital toward entire sectors like, say, specialized infrastructure or materials processing.
Exactly.
Because the global demand for those things is structurally guaranteed to be higher by 2026.
Exactly right. Strategy is about defining the landscape first. If you know, for example, that certain global regulations will take full effect by 2026, shifts that, say, redefine industrial pollution standards, then your investment strategy has to be laid now. You want to capitalize on the companies building the solutions, not just trade the stocks of the companies causing the pollution today.
So the word strategic is basically a promise.
It's a promise of deep research into systemic factors.
That completely reframes the challenge. The listener, by even looking for a title with strategic in it, has already mentally committed to this long-term systemic way of thinking.
That's right. They're not looking for a quick tip. They're looking for a roadmap that can survive a few bumps in the market.
Okay, let's move to the second word, financial. Now, this sounds obvious. Of course it's about money.
Right.
But how does including financial really refine the meaning of strategic horizons?
Well, the term strategic horizons on its own could apply to almost anything. Geopolitics, military planning, corporate R&D.
Sure.
But by anchoring it with financial, the authors are defining the ultimate objective: capital deployment and wealth creation.
It's a guide on where to put your money.
That's it. This isn't some academic white paper on global trends. Financial confirms that the actual, missing content would have dealt with very specific disciplines.
Like what?
Real asset allocation, managing liquidity, navigating tax implications for that 2026 horizon, quantifying risk exposure. It's the difference between discussing the theory of global growth and discussing how to hedge your currency exposure in specific emerging markets that are going to drive that growth.
You mentioned real asset allocation there. We should clarify that. That's just a technical way of saying putting money into physical things, right? Like real estate, commodities, infrastructure.
That's a great way to put it, as opposed to just stocks and bonds.
Okay.
And the expectation, given this title, is that the document would have provided a vetted institutional view on how those ratios, stocks, bonds, cash, real assets, should shift specifically for the 2026 environment to maximize returns and mitigate risk.
The financial label promises quantified recommendations,
right?
Not just qualitative thoughts.
It has to.
So if we had the full document here, we'd probably see these conflicting but deeply researched arguments.
I would expect so.
Maybe one chapter arguing for a heavy allocation to real assets to fight inflation, versus another arguing that tech stocks will rebound so strongly by 2026 that you want to stay in liquid public equities.
That's exactly the kind of debate it would contain. And the word financial guarantees that level of actionable, numbers-driven argument. It validates the professional nature of the research.
Okay, now for the word that promises the most intrigue to me. Horizons. We know the date is 2026, but why is that particular horizon so important right now?
That time frame, 2026, is essential. It's far enough out that you can avoid the volatility of the immediate news cycle.
Right, you're not worried about next quarter's recession fears.
Not for this. But it's also close enough that major capital projects and investment mandates have to be locking in their decisions pretty much now. It's that moment when long-term seeds start to bear fruit.
Explain that a bit more.
Think of it this way. When you talk about horizons in a literal sense, you're on a ship looking out.
Okay.
You can't see the exact details of the city on the coast yet, but you can see the distant outline of the major landmarks. And you know enough to plot your definitive course. That's what 2026 represents. It's the period where the contours of the future become clear enough to execute large-scale, maybe even irreversible investments.
So by choosing this horizon, the authors, and you, the listener who sought this out, are implying that the big shifts that matter were probably decided a year or two ago.
In many cases, yes.
And 2026 is the target delivery date. It shifts the discussion from what to buy to when to execute the purchase based on a predetermined endpoint.
Precisely. If you look at systemic changes, large-scale infrastructure projects, major government incentive programs, the rollout of next-gen tech, they all operate on something like a 36-month timeline. So 2026 represents the time when many of those foundational shifts will be moving from development into mass commercialization. That's when the investment gains are realized, but the capital commitment, that has to happen now.
You know, this analysis of the metadata, it's actually starting to feel really productive.
Good.
We've defined strategic as systemic, financial as quantified capital allocation, and horizons as this critical 2 to 3 year execution window. The listener knows exactly what they're missing now.
They're missing vetted, quantified strategies targeting high-impact outcomes in 2026.
But it does set a trap of expectation, doesn't it? It feels like we're detectives who found the locked safe with the treasure map inside, but we don't have the combination.
And we have to manage that disappointment by focusing on the value we have extracted.
Which is what, exactly?
The listener, just by sharing these titles, has confirmed they prioritize structured knowledge and predictive models and institutional mindset over random anecdotal market chatter. Knowing that you need a strategic financial horizons document, that's critical thinking. Even before the data arrives, you know the type of intelligence that's required to win in this time frame.
So we've successfully deep dived into the intellectual scaffolding of your intended source material.
That's a great way to put it.
We've confirmed that highly valuable quantified intelligence focused on 2026 investment strategies exists somewhere under this banner. We've analyzed the professional terminology and confirmed the urgency and the systemic focus.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the really profound insight here is that the act of seeking out structured knowledge for 2026, just evidenced by the titles, is the essential starting point for critical thinking in finance.
It's about preparing the ground.
Exactly. Anticipating the future isn't just planning, it's preparing your intellectual ground so you can execute rapidly when the details do arrive.
So what does this all mean? We've done a complete analysis of the structure and intent based on the only information we had, those specific evocative titles. And what we've confirmed is the crucial, necessary nature of this specific financial intelligence. We know the destination you're seeking. We just need the full map to get there.
Right.
This was a necessary exercise then. Defining the parameters of the knowledge you need. Thank you for sharing these compelling titles with us. We strongly encourage you, listener, to supply the full, substantive text of Investment Tips for 2026 and its parent document when you can.
When that information arrives, we can turn this analysis of intent into an analysis of actionable fact.
We'll be ready for the true data-driven deep dive.
And this raises an important question for you to consider while you wait for that full text. Given the terminology and strategic financial horizons 2026, which element is the most actionable for you in your own preparation right now?
Interesting.
Is it the focus on strategic long-term systems thinking? Is it the requirement to be financial and quantify everything? Or is it the hard deadline of the horizons, that urgency of 2026 that dictates your priorities today?
Think about that framework, how it influences your decisions, even without the details. Until next time, keep digging into those sources.
And keep connecting those dots.
We'll see you soon for the next deep dive.